You know, when you move into a nice neighborhood, you expect a few things. Quiet mornings, friendly neighbors, maybe the occasional barbecue invite. What you don't expect is a Karen from the HOA who seems to have made it her life's mission to monitor every single trash can on the street. And unfortunately for me, her favorite target was mine. At first, it seemed like an accident. I'd wake up, head out to work, and find my trash can tipped over. Trash scattered just enough to make me late because I had to clean it up. But then it happened again and again. And one morning when I caught her red-handed, muttering about neighborhood standards, as she gave my trash can a little shove with her perfectly polished shoes, I knew it wasn't an accident. "Oh no, this was a mission," I asked politely. I said, "Ma'am, could you please not knock over my bin? It makes a mess." She smiled that tight-lipped Karen smile and said, "Maybe if you placed it properly, the wind wouldn't keep blowing it down." The wind, right, the invisible hurricane that only seemed to blow on my driveway. So I decided if Karen wanted a war over a trash can, I was going to give her one. But first, I had to study my enemy. Every HOA Karen has her patterns, her little power trips. I watched as she walked her dog at exactly 7:15 every morning, taking a detour past my house, glancing at my property, like she was the sheriff of suburbia. And every Tuesday night, she'd circle around again, checking everyone's bins to make sure they weren't placed an inch over the curb. It was obsessive, it was ridiculous, and it was the perfect opportunity. I needed a plan. Something she'd never see coming, something unforgettable. Now, I could have gone the boring route, like installing a camera, reporting her to the HOA, or even calling the police. But no, this was personal, and I wanted a little poetic justice, so I got creative. Phase 1. I replaced my regular trash can with a look-alike. Same size, same color, same placement, but inside, a little surprise. I lined the bottom with a thin metal sheet. Above it, I placed a bag of trash like normal, and under that sheet, I installed a pressure-activated sound system, one that I'd programmed with, let's just say, the most horrifying growls and snarls I could find online. Think rabid wolf meets demonic bear. It was simple. The moment the can tilted beyond a certain angle, boom, instant nightmare soundtrack. Tuesday night came. I set the trap. My heart was pounding like I was pulling off a heist. I peeked through my blinds as the neighborhood sheriff herself strutted down the sidewalk, and right on schedule she reached out and gave my trash can that smug little kick. The sound that erupted made me jump, and I knew it was coming. Imagine what it did to her. The speakers roared with this unholy growl, and Karen shrieked so loudly, I swear half the block turned on their lights. She stumbled back, dropped her dog's leash, and sprinted down the sidewalk like the devil himself was after her. Her poor little poodle just stood there, looking confused. I had to bite my fist to keep from laughing out loud. Of course, that wasn't enough. Oh no, Karen wasn't the type to back down. A week later, she returned. But this time, I was ready with phase 2. Now, like I said, Karen wasn't the type to give up after one scare. No. The HOA had apparently blessed her with some kind of divine authority, and she wasn't about to let a trash can defeat her. The following Tuesday, I noticed her from my window. She walked slower this time, her eyes darting from side to side like she was in enemy territory. Her poodle tugged on the leash, eager to sniff around. But Karen was locked in, staring at my trash can, like it had personally insulted her family. And then she did it. She reached out with one carefully manicured hand, as if daring the can to fight back. She nudged it, just a little. No sound. She pushed harder. Still nothing, because of course, I had turned off the system. You should have seen the smirk on her face. She thought she had won. Thought she had proved that the last incident was nothing more than a coincidence. And that's when phase 2 began. You see, while Karen had been psyching herself up all week to face down my demon trash can, I had been busy with upgrades inside that can was not just trash. Oh no, I had installed a small motion triggered confetti cannon. Bright, colorful, glitter-filled confetti. The moment she tilted it past the safety point. Pow! A rainbow explosion lit up the night. Confetti rained down over her perfect hair, her pristine yoga outfit, even her poor little poodle. She gasped like she'd just been shot, waving her arms in disbelief as the sparkly bits clung to her like static. And the best part, this wasn't just regular confetti. I had ordered extra fine glitter, the kind that takes weeks to wash out. The entire street lit up with porch lights again, neighbors peeking out their doors. And there she was, standing in a storm of rainbow glitter, sputtering like a broken sprinkler system. I swear I could hear someone laughing from across the street. But still, she wasn't done. The next day, I found a note stuffed in my mailbox. It read, in her neat, angry handwriting, "Faith is harassment. The HOA will hear about this. Your trash can is a violation of community decorum. Consider this a formal warning over a trash can." Now, at this point, most sane people would probably have stopped, but let's be honest, I was having too much fun. Phase 3 required more creativity. I wanted something memorable, something that would finally make her think twice before ever touching my bin again. So I went shopping. A little online order here, a little trip to the hardware store there. And soon I had everything I needed. A motion sensor, a cheap voice recorder, a few LED lights, and an old Halloween prop I had stored in the garage. It was a fake skeleton. Life-sized, creepy as heck. I rigged the can so that if anyone tilted it more than 30 degrees, the skeleton would launch upward. Lights would flash red, and a recorded voice would shout, "I've been waiting for you, Karen." Yes, I used her actual name. How easy. I recorded it myself, loud, dramatic, and just slightly unhinged. The stage was set. Tuesday night, I waited. My heart was pounding like crazy. Half nervous, half excited. Would it work? Would she finally give up? The effect was instant. The skeleton shot up, arms flailing. The red lights burst to life. And then my booming voice filled the night air. "I've been waiting for you, Karen." The scream she let out could have shattered glass. She bolted, dragging her dog behind her, sprinting down the block like she'd seen a ghost. And technically she had. I fell onto the floor, laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. By now I figured she had finally learned her lesson. Surely, after being terrorized by demon growls, showered in glitter, and haunted by a skeleton calling her name, she would move on to more reasonable hobbies. But no, the following week, I didn't see her, and the week after that, still nothing. For a while, I thought maybe she had actually moved away. But then, the letter came. A thick envelope from the HOA, filled with official-looking paperwork. A complaint had been filed against me. Apparently, my trash can was disruptive, a public nuisance, and a safety hazard. The HOA demanded I remove it immediately or face fines. I almost lost it laughing. She had actually gone through the effort of turning this into a legal battle over my garbage bin. But here's the thing about HOAs. They love rules, and sometimes you can use those rules against them. So I did a little research, hours spent reading boring HOA bylaws, flipping through fine print, and wouldn't you know it, there was no rule, none at all, about what could or couldn't be inside your trash can. So technically, I was in the clear. I wrote them back, very politely, explaining that my trash can was perfectly compliant. Size, color, placement, all standard. And if certain neighbors were triggered by the contents, well, that was a personal issue. Weeks passed. I heard nothing. Until one day, I was watering my lawn when Karen stormed up to me, her face red with fury. She hissed, "You think you're clever, don't you?" I just smiled and said, "Smarter than the wind that keeps knocking my can over." Her jaw clenched. She turned and stomped off, muttering something about moving to a better neighborhood. and that was the last time I ever saw her. Not long after, her house went up for sale. The for sale sign stood tall on her perfectly manicured lawn. A month later, a new family moved in. Nice people, friendly, normal, and best of all, not obsessed with trash cans. These days, my bin stands tall and proud at the curb every Tuesday night, untouched, unbothered. And every time I roll it out, I can't help but chuckle, remembering the legend of the HOA Karen who thought she could win a war against my trash can. But in the end, she never saw what was coming.